to love and friendship. I have a dear friend I've not known for that long.
3 years.
3 years now?
Yeah.
And he has just taken a journey in a van around up to Denver, right?
Yep.
Florida,
Yep.
and up the coast.
Yep.
And he has been talking to people in philosophy departments, right?
Biology departments and
And
philosophy.
biology departments. And he's going to share with us, his name is Jake Keenan. I affectionately call him Uncle Jake because he can explain things even a nephew or niece can understand. I'm Michael Koran, honored to be your host here. And Jake, why don't you share with us your sacred pilgrimage, your journey to discover. Jake is gonna, after the show, you'll understand more about what life and human life is about.
Okay.
I don't want to put pressure on you.
I want the pressure.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like you calling it a pilgrimage. The van and I are much more of a campaign, I'm calling it. At my age, I've done a lot of pilgrimage, moving around, studying. Now it's a campaign. I have a set of ideas and I'm excited about them and I want to push them a little bit and explore. You know, I finished a book last year. Turns out it's not as easy to just pop it out there in wide circulation. So I'm embarking on a social media campaign. I've got my blog now. I've got mostly contacting academics. I'm looking for collaborators. I'm looking for other people to work with, to support, critique. And so I want to share that vision of what I'm promoting, right? So you tie it to life, and it's mostly about biology and its place in the world, within science and within theology, within how we conceive of ourselves. So interrupt me now if you got any times you want to stop here.
Oh, I love how we look at ourselves.
Yeah, and I'm mostly interested in looking at humanity. Not necessarily sticking with, hey, this species, this human being, this individual is not always the end all and be all. So when you ask questions about
it's not always about it. It's not all about us.
It's not all about us as individuals. Mostly we're interested in ourselves somehow. But there are collective dimensions going on now. I'm most particularly interested, as you'll discover, about civilization, about the things that are happening now. Why are planes flying around, a skyscraper being built right across the street here on Mass Ave in Cambridge, and what's that got to do with evolution? Beavers don't get that sophisticated. Are we just the coolest ones ever that have come
Hooray
around?
for us. Hooray for us. We can build a big skyscraper across the street from CCTV.
Yeah, and so evolution really has sort of dropped that question and just let us be swallowed by our own little fantasies that we've always had as we're the best, we're the superior, we're the successful ones, and so we survived, successful, same thing.
Yes, the Neanderthal couldn't compete with us.
Right, so I don't know, you tell me when it's a good time I can use my little chart.
Whenever you want to.
Yeah, okay, I'll hold on a second. So there are a couple main points that I'm wanting to drive at. In case most of you, I suspect, don't know, but evolutionary theory is in a wonderful place of rediscovering itself. And that's a nice way of putting debate that's going on currently within neo-Darwinism. Particularly, there are issues. And there are pockets of biologists studying little points around the world that are scattered, and it hasn't come together yet. I will mention two books that, if you can remember this, that really highlight, from last year, 2017, 2 years ago, really highlight how big the debate is. So the first one is called Dance to the Tune of Life by Dennis Noble, and he just strongly shows how incomplete neo-Darwinism is and how relying too much on genes has kind of warped Darwinism into a kind of a narrow focus. The beautiful book, really excited that it's out there. The second one's called Purpose and Desire by Scott Turner, and also just lambasts neo-Darwinism, really looks at bigger questions in all kinds of ways. Exciting to see that, exciting to see outstanding biologists taking this approach. So here you've got evolutionary theory already saying, whoa, do we really have it or not? And they don't. So there's some work going on? Will it be an extended synthesis as opposed to the current synthesis, which they're not really sure what it is? Or will it be sort of a really enhanced synthesis? Will it be a replacement for the synthesis? Debates back and forth. Nobody's landed anywhere. That's just interesting. I report on it, try to keep up with it. Fascinating. I recommend all listeners in here jump on it. It's exciting.
So it's really where we're evolving as a species in the world.
No, I'm not talking about humans anymore. I'm just talking about evolution theory itself. When they talk about the frogs and the birds, they got problems. It's exciting.
Oh, it's just the theory you're talking about.
This is a theory of evolution.
This is deep show, folks. We're not just we're not going to mess with the frogs and the new crocuses.
Right. But you should know that what's going on with the frogs is exciting. They are debating it. I'm not a biologist. I'm a philosopher.
So, what the theories of how we're growing? As we're growing, or how? What is the theories of how?
So, evolutionary theory is happening. It's doing its own debate. I'm going to be talking about humanity, but you need to know there are changes happening in evolutionary theory with the frogs first, before you can talk about how we understand that skyscraper
and what we're growing into.
And what we're growing into, exactly. Yes. The second part of what I'm following up on here, there's a piece in between. There's a period in evolution that is not well understood. It is becoming much more better understood, and that's the origin of life. There's fantastic studies. They are in a period where they're probably not too much genetic control. It's much more wild environmental protocells. They're not sure, but the nature of life itself is being recast and reformulated. So even among biologists, they can't just have like a magical start. Oh, there was a few molecules and the proteins got going. No more of that magic wand thinking. And interestingly, some of the people who, just take the cell as the first unit of evolution, they're in effect going the same way as the creationists. Hey, there was a magic beginning. Wherever the magic came from, lucky, popped off an asteroid, God, whatever, it's still kind of, biology doesn't have its foundations. So origin of life is worth following.
What you're saying is that with all these elements in a soup, and then all of a sudden out of the soup come a cell, and we don't really know how that happened. They can't do that yet. Is that true?
That's true. And they're getting better, and they are close to showing continuity in lots of ways. So a lot of scientists are very determined, showing steps that look very difficult, how they can happen. So all I'm paying right now is like evolution. The biology itself is exciting. There's new things happening in it. That's going on. I just try to keep up with it. I want listeners to be enthused about it too.
I am. So they can't do that yet. We can't order a little oxygen and a little some proteins.
Nope.
And just a little spark, and then all of a sudden we have life. We can't do that yet.
Well, there's a field called synthetic biology, and they're playing with lots of those little formulas, but not yet.
Not yet. Maybe by Easter. You never know.
maybe by Easter.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I just want to.
So someone's going to win a Nobel Prize. I created life in a test tube. Right.
That could happen. Yes.
And now you're saying the same thing with multicellular organisms.
So that's a further question about, when you go through 3 billion years of life with just unicellular things, then we get the multicellular.
And somebody had a great idea. Let's have.
Well, I don't know who had a great idea. They just did it, or
two cells got together. Is that it?
That's apparently what happened. Something like that.
It's very romantic.
It's more than romantic. It's kind of group sex more.
Yes. Oh, like many of them.
Apparently.
Oh, at the same time.
Yes.
This is going to be a bestseller.
So that's the background. And so now's a good time. Can we cut to my little chart that
I've learned how, because I'm technologically savvy.
Okay,
now.
I made a little chart to sort of graphically show where we're going here, how we bring this back to civilization, which is the real interest here, and is not a focus of very many studies. It's unfortunately being left out. Cut to it.
Here we go.
So what I do want to say, why can't we see it, or
You can't see it now?
I cannot see it.
Oh, it's on the screen. It's too.
Aha. So if it can be seen by anybody, what it's showing.
You can go and hold it. Maybe we can
No,
see
I
it now.
can. If you think it's visible to the viewer.
My eyes are not that good.
So there's a little black circle, kind of jagged over the left, evolutionary theory. That's what I just talked about, where there's a mess. Down at the bottom is origin of life. Yeah, that's going to be input as evolutionary theory changes.
Oh, let's do that slowly.
And that
You understand? Oh, you want to stand next to it and show us or not?
wouldn't be on the camera. Sure, I
Let's
could
see what happens.
So I'm saying that evolutionary theory here is an exciting changes going on right now.
Yeah, but that's
Origin of
what
life-
we just talked about that, right?
We just talked about that. Origin of life is that's in full growth mode, and that I think will touch on the nature of life and enrich this discussion about evolutionary theory.
And then again, we just talked about that too. The
We just
origin.
talked about that. So
Yeah.
then what I'm saying is over here, all the little black pieces here, is yes, we probably have a new synthesis of evolutionary theory at some point, and Michael's friends will get their Nobel Prizes. What I'm really interested in up here in red is the civilization portion of evolution. Why has that not been treated? Does it make a difference to how we view ourselves? And that's what we're going to spend the most of the time on. I do put in different colors over here. This is interesting to you and to all of us because there were philosophical ideas that shaped these ideas for Darwin and everybody else, that hey, we can treat life, for example, as units, the little living organisms, the living things as we call them, and not as the nature of life or some great principle or stuff, which is tied up with deeper notions of what's divine and miraculous in the universe. And anyway, these changes that we're talking about, that this is going to change dramatically our philosophy of ourselves, both the view of civilization, both the view of ourselves as individuals, the nature of life, the nature of what the creative process of life is. So this is the exciting end point of where all this is going. So the rest of the time I want to talk here, if that's okay with my host Michael, to talk about the civilization portion of it. This is something that's new. There are some studies, but that's the portion that is the exciting frontier and that I have something to add to and that we'll talk about from now on. Any questions, Michael, before I shift back to my seat?
No, so we've talked about the origin of life.
Yeah.
Which maybe someday soon, maybe
There'll be studies for all of our lifetime, but yes.
they'll be able to at least create life out of.
I wouldn't go that far.
No,
Will there be new principles? Will they show us new aspects about what life is besides just things that change from one to another? So that has important questions besides your being able to create life or whatever.
Oh, maybe we can think back to when we were just proteins, and then somehow we got together and formed a great jazz symphony, and we were a cell, right?
Okay, so Michael's got a lot of time to spend with this origin of life component.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're good for now?
Yep.
Okay. So back to the red, nature of civilization.
But now we're going to see how the grappling with these fun, really, thoughts. Oh, we're going to go back to us. Look at this. Look at this magic. Talk about magic.
Thank you.
Hello. So
this technological breakthrough apparently here in the studio for us.
Yes. And so now, what does this have to do with civilization?
Yes.
When we were young in the Garden of Eden, and now we're here in Cambridge.
Yeah.
And we've come a long way.
Yeah. And the question is, what's going on? Is that something special? There are times in evolution when things change significantly. We mentioned the multicellulars, when a bunch of single cells came together and formed something much different.
Remember that when you were feeling all alone, you were just a single cell, and then all of a sudden you and maybe the people in the neighborhood, yes,
Apparently.
got together and said, let's be multicellular. Let's be two can live more cheaply than one, right?
But then they're saying that they think this process lasted about 100 million
You
years.
can't rush these romances.
Yes, so there were complicated backstories to these romances.
Also, took how many, a million years?
About 100 million.
100 million, nothing. I mean, if there's true love, you can wait.
Yeah, so it's pretty complicated before they got those first filter feeders, before the
What is this?
Ediacar.
Oh, you're deep for us. Filter feeders meaning?
Meaning that when the groups of cells got together, in order for them to be effective together and
Yes.
survive, they had to come up with unique strategies to stay alive.
Eating.
Yeah. So
Veggie Galaxy maybe, or?
maybe Veggie Galaxy, yes.
Also, and maybe we do involve the mouth?
The mouth was an important new setup.
Yum. So I want you to go back there and just relive this. You do not have a mouth? How did they get food if they didn't have a mouth?
They had to form different cells that some of them acted like mouths.
Oh, wow.
And they helped the other cells get
That's
food, so they weren't
very kind.
selfish.
Very kind in the mouth.
Yeah, the mouth.
Let's have a moment of appreciation for the mouth. Okay, so that was a great moment in human history.
Yes.
Animal history.
Yeah, there you
The
go.
invention of
And
the
with
mouth.
implants. So.
We could call that would be a great title for the show.
Okay.
The invention of the mouth, or your mouth and what it can do for you. Yes.
Yeah. So once we got the mouth going, and then we had this 500 million years where we've had the frogs and the deer and all
how
the finches
beautiful.
from Darwin's time.
Oh my.
So the question is about civilization. We do things very. I'm gonna jump right into leave the mouth behind and jump to like when we started, forming, spears and like painting ourselves and getting agriculture going.
Good for
and
us.
then building stuff.
Good for us. What a great.
Good for us.
Yes.
So the questions are, what's going on? So the background is sometimes significant change happens. Is there significant change happen, and what's the nature of it?
Yes.
So there has been talk that we could be a kind of a change in individuality, that like we could be forming something like a superorganism.
Oh, now? You mean now?
Could be.
You and I and our listeners?
I don't think so. And most
you don't
people
think so?
discount that.
Oh, they don't think we're doing that?
No.
Like a big web of life?
No.
We're all connected with
that's
social media?
multi-level selection. That means we get selected as a group or something. There are thoughts about that. That is a discussion. You can do it. I'm not interested.
I'm not interested. We're all part of the body of Christ. That's what Christians say, right?
If they interpret it in a biological superorganism way, you go there. So that's one way. I don't think it's very
And
helpful.
we'll have so many mouths.
The way I want to challenge the listener real quickly here is how do we understand domesticated plants and animals?
That's us?
No,
We're not
with us.
domesticated?
That's
You're a wild one. You go around in a van. I've been living in Cambridge for so long.
apparently that is an interesting thing. We have all domesticated ourselves to some degree.
Yes, not you.
We are much more tame than our great.
He's less tame.
So but looking at all the hundreds of species that are now entrained with us and co-evolving with us,
Like cats and dogs.
like cats, dogs, donkeys, camels,
Parakeets.
Parakeets apparently, I assume, I don't know if they're wild or not.
Yes.
But all these animals, fish now, like it's very quickly being domesticated with us in our pens and agriculture and stuff. But those, and the wheat and the apricots and everybody else,
Yum.
that this is a massive coevolution that's never been seen before.
Oh, domestic. I mean, even though ants have aphids.
Very good. Even though ants have acids, that's one species.
Aphids are a little tinier than ants, and ants farm them. Right?
Yes. And so they get food from the aphids, and the aphids get protection from the. I'm not sure of
Yes,
that, but there's
yes.
but there's a mutualism there.
Well, plants and bees and ants, they work together.
Yes.
Bees. Where would a bee be without pollen? And where would pollen be without a bee?
Yeah, that's not considered domesticated. I
see. That's wild.
That's
like you. Yeah.
Okay. So leaving that ambiguity aside, I'm going to jump right into the massiveness that we have with humans. That our agriculture and our taking care of animals is just massive.
Yes.
In fact, it's so massive, not only in numbers of species, but we've taken over the planet. There are the wild mammals.
Right for us.
And I'm talking about our cows and sheep as well. So between us and the cows and sheep and everybody else, and now we've gotten rid of all the buffalo and most of the elephants, there are very few wild mammals left in terms of biomass on the planet. It's less than 5% and decreasing.
Even though with all the ants are wild, yes?
On the mammals.
Oh, the mammals, yes.
Okay.
I understand.
So yeah, so that's a huge development,
A huge
and it's
development.
not treated by evolutionary theory, not addressed.
Not until they listen to this program.
Not to listen to the programs. So there have been there are new studies now about domestication at scale. I'm happy to say Melinda Zader from the Smithsonian is very good. Gregor Larson from Oxford is very good. There are studies being done. It's exciting to see. And a lot of the times they think that these domestication was a mutual thing, that animals moved into our rich niches.
Like dogs.
Like dogs just moved in, like, hey, this looks like something interesting going on
Yeah,
here,
that's
and we
fine.
killed a few of them, and then we quit killing them and started helping
Many
them.
of our friends, yeah.
And so it kind of, it definitely was an accommodation. It wasn't like we went over there and said, hey, dog, get over here.
Yes, no.
So anyway, so here's this coevolution coming together of species, and you've got, hundreds of species co-evolving together, and that's what's going on today, and it needs to be addressed.
Good.
Big thing.
There was once a book, magazine, I'm sure you read, Coevolution Quarterly.
I missed that one.
Oh, you missed that
I wish
one.
that
Oh.
time. Oh, I like it that you know that one.
Yeah.
So this is a point one. Obviously, this really affected how rich we were, the number of humans on Earth. When we started agriculture and we're producing more, we had more humans per square kilometer.
Good for us again.
We
move on.
we really sort of took over these domesticates or pulled them in with us, and we
Yes.
were off and going.
Lucky cats and dogs.
Lucky cats and dogs, but not the ones who got nicked off in the time.
Yeah, well, you can't win everything.
You
but-
can't win everything.
Yeah.
So,
Please, everyone.
so this, I'll just stick with this piece. Here is this massive coevolution with domesticated species, and that's a little bit of unfair. I'd like to emphasize the coevolution and not the domestication, which has a little bit of smart humans did it. When you do that, then it begs the question, what's the nature of this? Is this going to be some new super species made up of a lot of species rather than us being just a multicellular kind of that we were talking about?
Maybe it'll be a peaceable kingdom.
Maybe it'd be a peaceable kingdom. So that really needs to be tackled. I think by biologists not tackling it, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're putting ourselves, we've got enough problems as it is with climate change or chaos and the stuff going on and the overpopulation. So we need the most help we can get from our biologists and our evolutionary biologists, like what's going on. And here we have an unusual phenomena. Nobody's paying attention to it. As far as I can tell, most evolutionary biologists who do study human evolution, they don't do too much
But
after
we-
hunter-gatherers.
Even though we're not. PhDs, we can understand it as just people, right? We can understand that we're now in the process of growing new relationship with animals, plants, and the planet, right?
Yes,
So that,
yes, new relations, but still, how do we know what's that doing for the growth of the biosphere, for like the limits of the planet, for how the health of the ecologies are? What's long-term good for everybody? What's going on here?
well, in climate change, are not people, or global warming, are people concerned about that yet? That's a new,
Right, but here you have something that we've identified, domestication, that's a large coevolution that is not even appreciated for its effect on the planet.
oh, with all the cows and,
All the cows and the sheep and the
Yeah.
humans.
yeah.
So you have a huge phenomena that's been going on for like 6,000 years,
And people aren't noticing it yet.
and people aren't noticing it yet.
But now you have an insight into what's happening to you. So how does that affect? We only have 3 minutes of this show, but we're going to be back for popular demand for another 27 minutes.
Yeah, I want to give a
Let's have it,
taste of what we got to come up.
Yeah.
Domestication is only one sign of the unusual piece of evolution we're in right now. The ones that we're going to tackle as well, I want to talk about the built environment, the pipelines all over the world, the amount of trade that's going on, the internet, the amount of skyscrapers and buildings. We live in an unbelievable built environment, and what part of evolution is that? Then you've got a new field they call social metabolism. We are changing chemistry rapidly. There are thousands every year new chemistries that are invented, and some of them are produced in the amounts of multiple tons of them, shipped around the world. They're stored in stockpiles, probably right around here in Cambridge. God knows what chemicals are stockpiled around in the buildings and here. So here you are changing the environment in very new, novel chemistry ways. This is another part of evolution that's not well appreciated. There are other things that we want to talk about, how modern life, it resembles with our grocery stores and our restaurants and our farming equipment. It resembles more and more just like a large-scale physiology that's bringing food directly into our plates. It grinds it, cooks it for us so that our stomachs don't have to work too much, transports it, gets it here from God knows how many countries to come take us out. So here is like, these are systems in our world that are approximating the physiology of nourishment. You've got a bunch of things that are phenomena of our world today that should be studied by biologists and evolutionary biologists at a collective level, at an extension level, that's not doing, and it's a loss for all of us. It leaves us, all of us, thinking that we are the king superior ape that's evolved, and you don't need to talk about anything more because obviously we're the coolest.
Oh, because we're doing this together with.
Well, we're doing something other than just being single apes.
Right.
And whatever's going on together, we haven't studied it. And it's not known if we're together with other species, if we're together with other chemistries.
Because we have so many, they do know we have so many bacteria in us.
We do know that. So within the individual, there's a lot of discussion about the multiple species within us.
Yes, but we need them all.
We do. So you got an idea where we're going now?
I have an idea that we're going to understand in the next 27 minutes where we are and where we're growing. Part of this, maybe I could call it this web of life that we're part of that's growing.
Yes. Okay. We'll stick with that.
Okay.
The humanity web of life.
The human web of life, whatever that. We'll find out. We'll see you in 3 minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Wow.